Thank you so much, Nicola. It feels so good to be here. Thanks for the kind introduction. And I'm reflecting, as we're in this symposium, I'm thinking about the first one I got the chance to attend in 2019, and I can measure the progress that's been done since then. And so it feels really good to see it. And so today, I want to actually echo the presentation from Patrick yesterday, but Patrick projected us in the future, and my role today is to show you what's ready now or what's coming very soon, leveraging the virtual twin of the human body to actually accelerate therapeutic innovation and foster medical practice excellence. And all this relies on this very strong belief that's been here since day one at Dassault Systèmes. We believe that virtual worlds extend and improve the real world. And I think it's very obvious for this audience, but let me explain briefly why. The first one is, if you build a virtual twin of a product, of a project, of the patient that you're going to intervene on, then you can anticipate the impact of this product or the impact of the intervention, and you can optimize. That's obvious. The second one is it fosters collaboration, because now people share the same representation of what they're trying to achieve. They speak the same language, they understand each other, and so they can work together much more efficiently. Why does it matter in healthcare? Well, we really think it's time to act now. Our sector is living through major transformations, from passive care recipients to empowered patients. Interestingly, many of us wear wearables, and did you know that almost 90% of the wearable owners actually use these wearables to track health metrics and make informed decisions? The second one is obvious, moving from one-size-fits-all to personalized therapies. Here, just a KPI from FDA. In the past few years, the drugs that are considered as personalized treatments have almost reached 50%. The third one that I've witnessed a lot when I was at the Ministry of Health is a move from fee-for-service to value-based care. And one KPI here is Medicare, which has committed to move all its contracts to value-based contracting by 2030. This means that you have to be able to measure outcome, value, in the real world, not only in clinical trial settings. So it changes the interactions within the ecosystem. The fourth one is helping physicians moving from a burnt-out status, where actually half of the burnouts are led by the use of EHRs, electronic health records, to augmented physicians, where tech is actually enabling them to get quality time with their patients. The fifth one is moving from siloed care to coordinated patient journey. McKinsey estimates that there are dozens of billion dollars to save if you have a more coordinated journey, but from the perspective of the patient, the KPI that is on this chart is taking the perspective of the patient. 8 hours could be spent, could be saved every month by US patients when they are trying to coordinate their own care pathway. And the last one is moving from treatment to prevention. And here I've quoted some KPIs from published in the Lancet that estimates to $700 billion for the US only the cost of preventable health risks. So how do we want to play there? We at Dassault Systèmes really position virtual twins at the core of our strategy, and we leverage several of them, from the virtual twin of the product to the virtual twin of the plant to the factory. But today, I really want to focus on virtual human modeling and simulation. That chart should be familiar to you. It's been presented, introduced by Patrick yesterday, and it's really meant to show you that when we talk about virtual twin of human, it can have different scales, from physical and molecular all the way to a population, and multidisciplines addressing different therapeutic areas. And so I'm going to touch on some examples in this presentation. And these examples will span therapeutic innovation in healthcare, starting in the design phase, and I will show you how you can leverage the virtual human twin to enhance your design in context, to clinical trials, to medical practice, and then to the patient experience. And so my first example will be actually on how to improve the design of new molecules, leveraging the disruptive innovation that has happened last year and led to a Nobel Prize in chemistry. So we heard about that with Joël Barral from DeepMind earlier at Science Week. You know that in the field of drug discovery, there has been really a disruptive moment in 2023 with AlphaFold. Why is this so important? Well, until then, it was very difficult to have to have a model of a target for a disease. There were roughly only 1,000 druggable targets, quote unquote, because these are the only ones for which you could have a 3D structure. And you know that when you do drug discovery, it's a bit like a keyhole and a key. You need to understand the shape of the keyhole if you want to find the key, which will be the drug. And with AlphaFold, now we have multiplied by at least 10 the number of druggable targets, which allows us to provide to our customers actually an open source version, collaborative version of this model that then allows our customers from academics and from industry to actually look for keys and really optimize the interaction between the target, which is actually a virtual twin of the human body at the molecular level, and the virtual twin of the product, which will be the key that you put in the keyhole. And we obviously leverage OpenFold Consortium. We're part of the founding members, but also a long-lasting collaboration with Professor Baker, who was the co-Nobel Prize laureate in 2024 with other types of AI-based modeling. My second example is, it still remains in the design in context, but is more on the medical device side. And we're here very happy to actually pre-announce the fact that we're gonna have accessible a library of virtual twins of diseased patients. We have access to thousands of diseased organs, liver, kidney, lungs, and we do not only have the organ, but we have its vascularization and the tumor. And the idea here is that if you're a device manufacturer doing surgical robotics, endoscopy, surgical instruments, now you're gonna have access to this library of diseased twins, and you're gonna be able to design your devices in context, taking into account the variability, the diversity in physiologies, in human physiologies. And so we're gonna make this library accessible to you, but we want to make sure that we do it right. And so we are announcing today that we launch a customer advisory board, the purpose being that we want to really get your expert insights into how to shape the offer that we're gonna have in that space. And so if you're interested, please reach out to us. You have the contact information for the project leader, Renan, and we're really excited to come back to you next year and report upon the launch of a very successful product. Let me switch. So now we have designed a new drug, we have designed a new device, and we want to take it through a clinical trial because we need to ensure that it is safe and efficient. Here, I want to report about two cases that are available today. The first one is leveraging the enrichment project, so in silico clinical trials. You have heard about it in depth last year. I just want to make a few comments. Really, our goal is to make sure that when you leverage our technologies, our ability to build a virtual twin of diseased patients and generate a virtual cohort that you could use for a clinical trial, that you can do this in the context of VNV40 credibility framework. And so we've heard a lot about VNV40 already at that conference. Yesterday, we heard from Joyce about the way they work at Takeda. The panel discussion came back to that, and we also had, so that's applying VNV40 to the virtual twin of the product, the virtual twin of the patient, and a bundle of both. Now you remember that in the publication we made with FDA last year about the enrichment project, we positioned 6 different types of virtual twins that need to be manipulated together as a way to ensure credibility of the in silico clinical trial. And so yesterday at the colloquium before the symposium, we actually touched base on how to apply the VNV40 framework, not only to these 3 first types of twins I've addressed, but also to the other 3, including the virtual twin of the cohort of patients. And we're gonna hear more at the end of the morning about that. The next example is just a short summary of what Jacob showed yesterday, showing you how we can position the incredible and unique assets that Medidata has to actually improve trial design. And that would apply to drug or medical devices. And I'm going to comment a bit about this slide that he didn't have time to comment yesterday. So remember, Medidata has access to these gigantic and unique data sets of clinical trials, roughly 36,000 trials, 11 million patients. And for most of these trials, we have secondary usage rights, which means we can reposition this data to actually help trial sponsors, they can be academics or industry, to improve the design of the trial. And so I'm going to comment briefly on 6 examples that have been done with the industry. The goal is to select the right indication, so you can compare different subpopulations of patients to understand where your drug is the most likely to be efficient. Select the optimal eligibility criteria, so you can refine the eligibility criteria by balancing scientific certainty with operational feasibility. And here the example was with KITE. You can actually reduce the size of your trial because you can actually estimate the size of effect of your drug based on your phase 1 single-arm data as you complement this phase 1 single-arm with an external control arm. You can run shorter trials using surrogate endpoints. You can demonstrate value by assessing safety and efficacy benchmarks. And you can, and actually these are the last 2 examples. For example, with Sanofi, we have been able to leverage our unique database of thousands of patients that have received CAR-T treatments to actually predict what are the patients that are going to suffer from cytokine release syndrome or ICANN. 2 syndromes that actually were mentioned by Jean-Charles Soria from Amgen yesterday in a different context, to actually predict which patients will suffer from these symptoms, but also find a way to actually handle these symptoms so that the patients can still be enrolled in the trial. So with that part, I'm actually wrapping up therapeutic innovation, and I'm going to take you now to the use of virtual twin of the human body on the medical practice side, and I will start with physicians. You will hear much more about MediTwin project later in the morning, but I just want to give you a few insights about the project. So it is a consortium led by Dassault Systèmes, jointly with 7 French medical health institutes and our French Computer Science Research Institute in Ria, together with startup companies, MediTwin. It has been launched in December 2023, and our goal is to build virtual twins of the human body in 7 use cases that cover 3 therapeutic areas, with the goal that we're going to improve medical decision and medical diagnosis. And so a bit more precisely, what does it mean? Well, in 2026, we want to be able to release a care companion that will foster collaboration of healthcare professionals. That means that we're going to have access to multimodal information about the patients, imaging, clinical assessment, etc., that will allow us to build a virtual twin of the patient, a personalized twin, that then will be used to make decisions across a different, across a team of physicians and caregivers, and also allow exchange with the patient so that the patient can better understand their own health status and make informed decisions. And it will be augmented with specialized solutions in Alzheimer, in congenital heart disease, and we will hear more from Professor Bonnet today, and in other diseases across from 26 to 2030. Importantly, with this project, we do not only want to show technical feasibility of building such a virtual twin, but we also want to go to achieve clinical validation and define the business models that would allow us to standardize the use of these virtual twins across a large set of hospitals, which means that we have to really be able to demonstrate the value for the different stakeholders, hospitals, physicians, health insurers, patients, to work on different types of business models. And I want to wrap up with one example that will touch the patients more directly. And I'm going to talk to you here. We're going to talk about V+R therapeutics that will be put in the hands of patients. We touched on digital therapeutics yesterday with Ariel Stern earlier in Science Week. So digital therapeutics, it's a software that has a medical, clinically validated outcome on patients. So you can see this as a virtual treatment, or it's a treatment that leverages the virtual world but has a real impact on patients. And more and more we see digital therapeutics coming in combination with drugs. It's called software-enhanced drugs, and there is a favorable regulatory context here in the US for this with the draft guidance on PDURS, so prescription drug use related software. And what it means is that there are easy paths to develop a drug together with its software so that you're going to enhance the potential of the drug with the digital therapeutics. And by doing so, I want to bounce back on something that Ariel shared yesterday, which is that if the patient is using the digital therapeutics, it's going to improve their health status, which is great, but it's also going to generate real-world data that you can then incorporate to have a better understanding of the patient's disease. So it's really a virtuous D plus R and R2V circle. And with that, I've reached the end of my presentation, so that's just a summary of what I've shown you. I've shown you different examples of virtual twin of the human body in different therapeutic areas and at different scales, from molecular to the organ and the population, to achieve therapeutic innovation, but also medical practice excellence and better informed decisions from patients. With that, I thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Claire. I think it's really amazing to see what we are already having today and projecting us from there in the future. So is there any question for Claire in the audience? So maybe I'll start with one. So you have shown me how we are using the virtual twins for design and for in silico clinical trials. And what do you see as the future of maybe combining them together in closed loops and going even forward?
You mean from design to clinical trials?
Exactly.
I think we have a really concrete example with the Living Heart project. So what we see in mitral valve regurgitation is that really there is interest from medical device makers, both to do the design in context, so I improve the design of my device, but also taking it all the way to clinical trials and making sure that they de-risk their trials. We start discussing with them how to inject the results from these in silico trials into the design of the device. Now, very interestingly, we also see this on the drug side. So here, for us, it's connecting the clinical trial results coming, like handled by Medidata, with the depth of disease understanding from our Biot brand, so that you can better understand the disease, like the mechanism of action of a disease, and really improve the therapeutics that you're gonna design and develop to address these diseases.
Yeah. So we see the convergence of the therapeutics being combined, and being able to combine the effect in the virtual twins will enable us to even better understand the mechanism of actions and assess the outcomes.
Exactly, and I would add that for us, as we do this, being able to help our customers define biomarkers is critical, because these biomarkers can help you better select your population. It can maybe help you accelerate your trial because you would improve your clinical endpoints. And so that's a field of high interest in the team.
Thank you, Claire. So if no more questions, maybe we'll wrap up and go to the next.
Thank you, Nicolas.
Thank you, Claire.